Hello, my love pies. I'm Gabby. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm starting a podcast, perhaps? I don't even know what to call it because I'm 40 years old and only started listening to podcasts really this year. Because I've seen people put podcasts on YouTube and call them podcasts, and I thought, no, isn't that just a YouTube video? So I don't really know what I'm starting here. If it's a YouTube video, if it's a podcast. I just know that this has been something that I've been called to do for a while. And I'm probably going to jump around explaining this. I am feeling a little stage fright. If you hear some scratching in the background, that is because I'm drawing in the background, because that is what I do to zone out so I can talk to you, apparently. But yeah, so why did I want to start doing this and who am I, right? So, which one do you want to start to hear first? I'm going to answer, why did I want to start doing this? Because you asked, right? No, you didn't ask. Nobody asked. Nobody will probably listen to this. Part of me is hoping that nobody ever listens to this. But you never know. So why am I doing this? Yes, I'm doing this to hear myself babble, I think. So I kind of babble to myself all day long. And yeah, oh my gosh. And I want someone to listen. Is that why I'm doing this? Perhaps. That very well could be. Okay, so I'll probably get back to more details on that one when they come to me. So the harder question is, who am I? Okay, so I'm Gabby. And here is an example of how I don't know what I'm doing. I honestly don't even know if I am supposed to tell you my last name on stuff like this. Like, am I telling you who I am, or are you still supposed to stay somewhat anonymous because it's the internet? So you can find all my shit on the internet. I don't really know if I'm allowed to say shit, and I also don't know how anonymous I actually am. So I will tell you, I am Gabby Merides of Make Your Perfect and Gabby Merides Art. So I have two different companies with really long, confusing names, and they're kind of all about empowering women. What I really am passionate about is just helping women unleash their full potential. I've been working with women for 10 years. So I will do the introduction and tell you about myself at some point. I don't know if I'll do that today, even though I am answering who am I. I don't think you need the life story just yet. But I work with women. I started working with women. This is getting really boring already, right? I started working with women, but I did. I started working with women after I had my first child. And then I just kept working with women in totally different capacities. I owned a children's play space. I have been a Lamaze coach. I have been a life coach. But what I really started hearing so much from women when I started working with them and talking to them and all of that is really thank you. Thank you for listening is what I heard a lot. But I am not also the best listener. Just so you know, maybe that's why I am babbling on YouTube or whatever, wherever I happen to be babbling at the moment. And so what I heard a lot of women also say was, thank you for telling me that. So I guess that's my thing. I have no filter. I talk a lot, which is an interesting story because I was not always this way. And I talk about things that a lot of people are hesitant to talk about. So I think in doing that, I don't know, make other women feel comfortable. I allow them to then speak about the things that they may feel uncomfortable and vulnerable about. And then all of a sudden, magic starts happening. Then you realize, like, all of a sudden you are all just people and you all have similar experiences and values. And I know this sounds kind of boring, but this is what happens when you start talking to women. So I guess I am here. Oh my God, I guess I'm here to talk to women. And so what was I going to say about that? I know. I don't know why I'm talking because I can hardly even think straight. But I don't know. Totally lost my train of thought. We shall move on. So that is who I am in a nutshell, in a very, very tiny pistachio shell. And I am also an artist. So I would say I have come to the conclusion that I am primarily an artist who works with women in the sense that what I paint and draw mostly are either women's figures or themes that are appropriate to women. And what it's about? It's like women coming out of their shell and their boxes and the boxes we've been put in all our life. Seriously, you guys, I'm having stage fright, so I feel like I'm not being very articulate here. I know I should just chill out and maybe like think before I speak. I will potentially do that next time. I will potentially write something down that I want to talk about next time. But right now I'm just sitting here drawing and I can't decide if the drawing is like detracting me from thinking about what I'm going to say to you or helping. So that's something I do, which is interesting. I mentioned that. So something that I do is meditative drawing. You know what else I'm going to tell you right here? I'm also really uncomfortable talking about myself. I'm realizing that. And so, oh my gosh, maybe I'm going to help women be more comfortable talking about themselves. My kids are in the background yelling too, just so you know, just so you're aware. That's what those noises are, and potentially barking. But that's the dog, not the kids. So I'm an artist, and I have always been an artist. I've drawn since I can remember, since I was really little. I mean, I have spent my days drawing and painting, really. And except for maybe a hiatus from like age 30 to 38 or 37. And even then, I probably did some drawing. So anyway, I have always been an artist, and what I have realized, I guess, over the past few years, I did art for a really long time. I studied it in college, and then after college, I tried to go into graphic design, but I was not very disciplined about learning it. I didn't know it. I tried to do illustration. I was not very disciplined about sending in artwork to places and receiving rejection letters. And so then I did mostly portraits and murals. I was good at that. And I really liked sitting with people and painting their portraits. And, you know, one of the things that I realized this when I was writing my artist statement after college. You know, you have to put together your resume, right? Why you make art. And I was like tossing words around with my professor about what I was going to write. And he just kept telling me I was so vague, because what I kept saying was, I paint in order to see better. I paint because I see better. And, you know, he was like, well, that's kind of vague. I don't really understand that. But as I got older and kept making art and kept sitting with these people, I'm like, yeah, why am I not just taking, one of my professors used to ask me that, why are you painting this instead of taking just a photograph? And when I just take a photograph, it doesn't go through me. I'm not really a photographer. I don't find that an expressive form of art for me. But when I am like putting pencil or a paintbrush on paper, I literally feel energy flowing through me from my subject through me to the paper. And even if it was to be like totally photorealistic, it went through me in some way and picked up a different perception. And then you have a different perception of this person on the paper. And maybe it's more complete because you've drawn in energy from the universe while you're putting it down there, right? I don't know. This is what my process was, right? And I could never really put it into words when I was 20. But that's what I do. And so I do this like meditative art process as well. Some of the stuff I paint are straight up portraits. Some of the stuff I paint is this meditative process that gets me in this trance-like mode, almost like I'm meditating, like I am meditating, and allows me to really like draw, I don't even know what's happening, like draw energy out of the universe, put it on paper. And this has become a form of self-care for me. It has really become part of my feminine expression, I want to say. And so I'm a little bit passionate about teaching women to get creative, whether it's in that way or another way, with like doing vision work or writing or art or even just tapping into their intuition. I think that's a really creative process. And so I facilitate that a little bit with women. But I want to say, I don't know, this might sound really weird. I have always been really, this is what I'm going to say, I've always really been into women. And I don't even mean that sexually, you guys. Although that's not untrue sexually, but anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I have always painted images of women. I have always been like entranced by the female form and the feminine experience, I suppose. And so maybe we'll talk over time about how that relates to my childhood. But the feminine experience has always been enthralling to me. And I guess right now there is just this upsurge of interest and talk about the divine feminine, like these feminine energies in the universe, not just within women, but also within women. And it is fascinating to me to see that as part of my experience, as part of the human experience, and as part of this experience of experiencing connection with other women. That has been a main, something I'm just like being introduced to, true connections with other women. And I guess what I'm finding with that is I'm finding it in the form of talking, listening to other women talk and having conversations. And so I guess I'm here to be part of that conversation in some way. I try to, or I just am, I happen to be part of that conversation with my art because I paint women. One of the most recent projects I did was just super intense. I decided before Valentine's Day that I was going to paint like custom portraits of women, and they could pose for me. And so the idea was to like do kind of sexy poses for Valentine's Day and give it as a gift to your partner for Valentine's Day. And so the first thing that happened was women really wanted to do this, and they were like all of a sudden held up at the spot where they had to take a picture. There were some women who, they had pictures. They had a lot of pictures already, you know, but there were, I would say the majority of women were like hung up like, ooh, now I have to take a picture of myself. What, you know? And it was so amazing. I think I have a spreadsheet. I think I had about 37 portraits, and every single woman I had this like a connection with, where they talked to me either about the process of taking the picture or asked me questions about what might be a good composition. And so I got to have these like little conversations with these women, almost just witnessing their discomfort with the situation, but their total bold openness to be vulnerable. They're like, yeah, I want to do this, even though the result, and because the result is a nude picture of myself, or like scantily clad picture of myself in a sexy pose. I do want to do this. I do want to get vulnerable. And it was so cool to see all these women be like, yeah, I want to go there, because something that I've witnessed is that we want to feel good, which means we often want to stay safe. And so it's not all the time that we make ourselves vulnerable. But 37 women, when I put out this call for custom portraits, were like, yeah, let me just go against every fear I have and try this. Or, listen to every fear. I'm not sure. Go against it, listen. But they just did it. So I got these photographs from women who, some of them I barely knew. Some of them I knew very well. Some of them were, my sisters. Literally, I did one of my sister. She was like, this is weird that I'm sending you this picture. But it's not weird. That's the thing. And I think the more we do stuff like that, the more not weird it becomes. And so what happened was, when I returned these pictures, everybody I got their photos and I made a drawing of them, these line art drawings. And every woman who I did one of said something to the fact of, what is the thing? I'm so bad at sayings. Said something to the respect, I can't think of the word, you guys. Anyway, said something to the respect of, like, I see myself differently now. I see myself maybe as more beautiful than I expected. And sometimes it wasn't necessarily because the portrait was more beautiful than they thought their picture was. It was the act of like doing it all that made them feel beautiful. But it was really interesting that it was like, just, think of how hard it is to just take off your clothes sometimes. And then how hard it is to look at yourself in a mirror. Then how hard it is, like, compared to a mirror, taking out your phone or a camera and taking a picture of yourself, like, in not a lot of clothes, right? Looking at your body, looking at, like, feeling vulnerable and open. And then taking that picture and sending it to someone that you don't even know that well. That is just super crazy to me. But, like, amazing, right? These women, they trusted me instantly, and we had this instant bond and instant connection. And like I said, I had little conversations with every single one of them. And so what really stood out to me, one of the things that really stood out to me from doing this project, and I'm still doing it if anyone's interested, what really stood out to me from doing this project was that these women were, the act of, I guess, asking them to be vulnerable with another woman was helping them allow so easily this connection with themselves and with me that they might have not had before. I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if that, makes sense to everybody. But it really was like so I guess it's like we go around often saying we want more connection with women. saying we want more connection with women, but we don't know how, or, worrying that we're going to go to like a event with women and feel judged. And so we make ourselves small. We don't speak up. We become introverted. I think I became an introvert because I was so afraid of women at one point. At this point, I think I still am an introvert, and partly was because of a fear of being judged by women. But so the point is, when for so much of my life, I was so scared of talking to people, really. So there is a thing my name is Gabby, right? And that means like, if you are Gabby, you talk a lot. So when I was in like grade school growing up, every time I had a new teacher, they would do the roll call, and then I would say my name. You know, they would be like, oh, Gabriella. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, call me Gabby. Or like really quietly and meekly, I'd be like, call me Gabby. And then they would be like, oh, is that because you talk a lot? And I would be like, oh, no, don't talk to me. Oh my God, you're terrifying. I don't want to talk to you. I really did not like talking to people. And I hated the fact I hated my name for so long because I felt like it was inviting people to talk to me. And so I guess I thought that inviting people to talk to me was also inviting judgment. Even when I was little, I was just so shy. I was so worried what people would think of me. And God, in middle school, we'll talk about that another day. We'll have the middle school chronicles. How about that? But so yeah, I worried so much about what other people and women thought of me that I was just terrified of people. And then I suppose I had children. I think this happened when I had children. I can't really tell. I think it did, because I think what happened was I had kids and I had like no time to even like ponder what people thought about me anymore. It was like I just was so maybe like overwhelmed with I was overwhelmed. It's like, whatever. I'd like, this is all I could do to like keep my children alive, right? And so I think that's when I stopped worrying about what people thought of me, because I didn't have time to. And like by the time I realized I had stopped worrying about what people thought of me, I was like so far gone that there was like no coming back from it. And so anyway, that's when I started talking. Like I couldn't help it. I think I went a little nuts, and that's what happened. I became a mom. I lost all sanity, and I lost all my filters and my limiting beliefs and my like worries. I just went like blah and started like talking all the time and not really holding back in what I said, which gets me in trouble when I swear and use swear words in front of the children, you know. But other than that, I just started talking, and I started just seeing and hearing these connections being made because we were talking more. So that's it. I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else hilarious to tell you today or super particularly interesting. Perhaps I never will. But yeah, let's talk. And so before I go, should I tell you this now or like at the beginning of the next one? Maybe there will be no next one. So maybe I should just get this. Yeah, I'm going to tell you now. So speaking of talking, I just started reading this awesome book called The Intimacy Issues by Ashley Skeen. I have a weird way to say S's. I feel like I can't say Skeen. It's Skeen. And she is like a goddess, and I'm super obsessed with her ever since I found out about her like 4 days ago, because that's what her book is about. It's about women talking, and it's about that whole thing, like, what can we open up in this world if we start talking? We can open up such, you know, everybody, we're all kind of in this spot where we're wanting to make change in the world, and big changes, and we cannot do that if we're not talking. And you know what? Once we start talking, you find like, yeah, you might offend somebody, but this honesty, you find you offend less people than you thought you would, and you connect more than you thought you would. I don't know. All of a sudden, people are starting to have a voice, and I'm loving it. And so maybe I'm starting to find mine. All right, that felt really nice to say out loud. All right. Well, if you were around listening, I think that's really cool. I would like to hear maybe what you'd like to hear about, because I don't know. I'm worried I'm going to babble about stuff you're not interested in, and like maybe I could babble about stuff you are interested in. How cool would that be? So cool. Thank you for listening. And until next time, my goddesses, Goodbye. Mwah.